The Lord be with you.
and with your spirit.
Holy Gospel according to St. John.
Glory to you, O Lord.
After this, Jesus went to the other side of the Sea of Galilee, near Tiberias. And large crowds followed him because of the miraculous signs they saw when he healed the sick. So he went up into the hills and sat down there with his disciples. Now the Passover, the feast of the Jews, was at hand. Then lifting up his eyes, Jesus saw the crowds that were coming to him and said to Philip, "Where shall we buy bread so that these people may eat?" He said this to test Philip, for he himself knew what he was going to do. Philip answered him, 200 silver coins would not buy enough bread for each of them to have a piece. Then one of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, said, "There is a boy who has 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. But what good are these for so many?" Jesus said, "Make the people sit down." There was plenty of grass there, so the people, about 5,000 men, sat down to rest. Jesus then took the loaves, gave thanks, and distributed them to those who were seated. He did the same with the fish and gave them as much as they wanted. And when they had eaten enough, he told his disciples, "Gather up the pieces left over, that nothing may be lost." So they gathered them up and filled 12 baskets with bread, with pieces of the 5 barley loaves left by those who had eaten. When the people saw this sign that Jesus had just given, they said, "This is really the prophet, he who is to come into the world." Jesus realized that they would come and take him by force to make him king. So he fled to the hills by himself. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
My dear friends in Jesus Christ, we had been reflecting past few weeks how Jesus appointed the 12 and they were sent in a mission. And last Sunday we found how all of them, they came to Jesus and they told everything what they did and taught. And Jesus invited them to a deeper calling, and he said, "Only you come with me and rest with me." So the people they were in numbers, they didn't have time and place to rest. So the option was a boat, if you can remember. So they get on the boat and they went to the other side of the shore. And so that particular time, they stole for time to be with Jesus alone. To be a proper shepherd. There's alone time with Jesus. This special allocated time with Jesus. The deep contemplation with the Lord is of paramount importance, without which you will lose the focus. That's why last week, first Sunday, first reading, God was complaining in Jeremiah, book of Jeremiah. God was complaining the false prophets because they begin to use the sheep rather than serve them. So it challenges us also, where we use people we think about to be served than to serve. That's where we go wrong, when we lose the focus, when we lose the connection. That's exactly why we have to then on and off go to the Lord, and we should examine our conscience, whether we are in the right track. Today, so after coming there, they saw another huge crowd. They were running from the shore to the other side, identifying Jesus' boat there. And he saw, now after seeing a large crowd, he was feeling pity for them, because they were like sheep without a shepherd, and he started teaching them. So today we find the continuation, the same scenario in John's Gospel, where the big number, huge number was coming to him in the other side of the shore, my dear friends. So he saw them. In Mark Gospel, normally it's a year B, where we read the Gospel is taken from the Gospel of Mark. So John, Mark, Matthew and Luke, we call them synoptics. They were written in the same background, same style, same sources were taken. But then John's Gospel was different. It's quite of a deep of a meaning. So in the liturgical circle, we sometimes put John's Gospel in the special situations. So today we find John's Gospel, and also the coming 5 weeks we are referring to John's Gospel with the Eucharistic episode, where he says, I'm the bread of life. So this shepherd, the shepherd for that matter, Jesus was teaching them, and today Jesus was feeding them. So in the desert is a lonely place, Jesus feeding them, multiplication of bread. This directly remind them of the Exodus, where God gave manna from sky. God fed nearly 6 lakhs of people, 600,000 people for 40 years in the desert. So here comes not Moses, rather Jesus, feeding 5,000 in that day. So our God, He is a God who feeds us. To journey to the other shore, journey in our journey, to have that spiritual stamina, strength and energy. He feeds us. My dear friends, He is our God who can create things out of nothing. He can simply create things out of nothing. The world was created not like Big Bang Theory, not evolution. No, Lord created the world out of nothing with the word. Simply He said, let there be light. There was light. Let there be life. There was life. He said, Epata, and the ear was open. He said, Talitha Kumi, the girl raised up from the dead. He said, Lazarus, come out, and he came out, the rotten body. So He could create things. But then today, the Lord is taking us to another direction. He wants to bless you. He wants to feed you, strengthen you. But then not simply feeding would help. There should be a relationship in that connection. My dear friends, if you read carefully John's Gospel, which is a deeper one, you have to have a background study, without which you can't understand the real meaning of the text. There's no text without context. So John refers to all the miracles as signs. They are never named miracles. They are named as signs. Sign is a thing which directs to the proper goal. Now if I point this side, if you look at my finger and wait, the purpose of sign is gone. Purpose of sign is gone. Color lights, the red, yellow and green. Those are signs. So it denotes something. It shows something. So that's how the miracle works. We don't find the meaning in the miracle in itself. It should direct us to another deeper calling, deeper goal. So multiplication of bread is not the end. He feeding people. Of course, people loved it, and he saw how people is going to make him the king forcefully. He fled from the people to a lonely place because that is not the meaning. Sometimes we want only the miracles, isn't it? We want the miracles, we want prosperity, we want answers, we want miracles. So we get stuck with the sign. We don't move forward, we don't move deeper. In the seashore, Jesus was preaching in Luke chapter 5. And then he saw Peter's boat and he got onto that and he was preaching, going little further into the sea. And then he personally called Peter and let's go into the deep, launch into the deep. And there he caught a huge catch of fish. Then what did Jesus said? Go to the market and sell and have a market and a good price and enjoy the fish. No, he said, leave, come follow me. I'm going to make you fishers of men, not stinking fish. So that is the meaning of a sign, miracle. My dear friends, in the first reading, he shows us today how he's going to make me a blessing. We can bless people, definitely. But then you blessing people is different from you being a blessing. That's a different calling. The first reading in Elijah, we find Elisha, how 20 loaves were brought as the first first harvest in this particular man. And Elisha says, distribute them 20 loaves among 100 people. And he was dumbfounded to see, how can I distribute 20 loaves among 100? So how can I multiply one bread into 5? That's how it is made 100. But then word says, Yahweh says, they shall eat and have some left over. Yahweh says, giving the bread to that man of God, it says that he gives the bread to God, the first fruit, first place to God. When you give the first place to God, God can do a miracle. Whatever you have, when you give him the first thing, first place, God can multiply it. It's not only your money. We find people, my dear friends, who give their 10%. Even a lot of Catholics do that. But then for that matter, to have to be very clear that it's not our church teaching as such. But then as a practice, we do that. It's okay. There's no problem. For the Catholic teaching, in the New Testament, Old Testament, we find 10%. Where in the first place in Genesis, where Abraham gives the 10% to Melchizedek, a special priest, special king. So 10% is not in the New Testament we find. In the new early Christian community, they brought and gave everything to God. Yet, it's a beautiful thing. A lot of people practice it. When you have your salary, maybe it's 10% or what percent, it does not matter. When you have your salary, do you remember God? Do you remember to thank Him and give Him the first place? First share to God, to say that I am not looked after by this money. I'm looked after by my beloved Dada, my Father. So that's how I, as a symbol, I give my first place to you, God. So I believe miracles would happen in a relationship, in trust. as the widow had 2 pennies and put that into the till. And she believed, I don't have husband, I'm a widow. Widow is a discriminated, widows are discriminated in that culture. They can't work. They have a hard time. Yet she believed, my lover is my God. My husband is my God. My right hand is my God. I give everything to my God. And I believe I am being looked after. It's a beautiful relationship. It's a beautiful invitation. World is so stressed, isn't it? Lot of people need sleeping tablets to sleep. They have lost the serenity, peace in their lives. It's horrible. What a catastrophe, isn't it? My dear friends, we all are stressed. Pressure, arthritis, gastritis, all these sicknesses, most of them, 90% happen in the mind. We are anxious. We worry too much. Because we think we have to look after ourselves by ourselves. God is merely a statue. God is in the church. That's it. He's a dead God for us. He's not omnipotent. He's not ever powerful. He's not a loving father who looks after you. In the desert, he fed 600,000 people 40 years and he can't feed you. It's terrible, isn't it? Jesus is there. 5,000 people coming. And my dear friends, Philip, poor fellow. You know, that's Philip's village. So when 5,000 coming, I was just imagining. I like to do that in the gospel. So 5,000 people coming, big number. Now Philip, of course, left everything and went with Jesus. And people must have told stories, past hints. You know, it's a utter foolish thing to leave everything and go behind this young rabbi. What he's going to get? Amidst all these hints and all that, now comes the chance for Philip. You know, 5,000 coming, and the master is on the mountaintop, and Philip, of course, okay. See, now you come and see. This is why I left everything. No, he's going to be a king and I'm going to be the finance minister. Okay, fine. Okay, then people would have come to him. Okay, come, it's okay. Okay, I'll speak to Jesus. Don't worry. Okay. Now his village. Jesus must have seen this. How his head is being inflated. You know. Then he called Philip and said, Philip, from where we can buy food for all these people? And he was shocked. He was shocked. That balloon was burst with a pin, you know. And he was shocked. And he was tensed. And he began to think in the worldly way. He thinks not even 200 silver coins would do. It's even, that is not enough. 200 silver coins means a huge amount of money. So he looked at the problem through money, through worldly strength, which is a terrible way of dealing with things. So whenever you think, whenever you decide in your life, because with the resources that you have, so if you don't take any step in faith, live in the darkness, always you judge with your strength. This is how the world works. This is how the world, because that's how the survival of the fittest is maintained. So those who are fit enough, they will have. But those who are poor, they will never have, because they look at the problem with money. And Jesus was waiting. Philip looked at 5,000 and he thinks about his purse. Judas must have gone away. You know, he's the treasurer. You know, don't give a penny for this. You know, we don't have money for 5,000 people. What nonsense. You know, then everyone was in upset. Philip He's breaking his head over the problem. Beautiful the word, see. Where shall we buy bread to these people? People may eat. He said this. Said this. Jesus said this to test Philip, to test him. It's a test. Jesus wants to see what you are doing. He wants to see what you are doing in a struggle, in a crisis. He will put us in that same test. And then we fall into the same pit that Philip fell. Try to answer the problem by ourselves, and we are stressed out, we are tense, and we fight, we are depressed. It's terrible. Word says, for he himself knew what he was going to do. Beautiful, isn't it? Jesus exactly knew what to do. And yet he asked Philip, okay, from where we are going to buy bread? And Philip, he jumped into hot water. And he's dancing like a headless chicken, you know. Jesus knew exactly what he was going to do. My dear friends, always remember, Jesus is there. This is the beauty when you give the first place. When you give your first amount in your salary, more than that, when you give the first and the best time to God. Time represents your life. You live in time and you die in time. You are born in time, you will go in time. So the first and the best place, when you give Jesus, my dear friends, miracles would happen, without which we fight, and it becomes our fight. It's useless, waste of time, waste of everything. Jesus knows exactly what to do. My dear friend, the beauty of the second step, we find Andrew, another disciple of Jesus, right? And Andrew has a nature, his brother of St. Peter, has a nature of bringing people to Jesus. It was in his blood, you know. He's the one who brought Peter, his own brother, to Jesus. And the Jews were brought to Jesus by Andrew. And now he brings this little chap, little boy with 5 loaves and 2 fish. He brings that child to Jesus. Of course, he doesn't know why. He doesn't know the meaning. But then his nature to bringing people, it's better than Philip. My dear friends, he asks what to do with 5 loaves, 5,000 people. 1 loaf should be broken into 1,000 pieces to distribute. That's how you can feed 5 loaves into 5,000 people. 2 fish and 5,000 people, 2,500 pieces you have to cut into pieces in the fish, you know. That's how his mind works. But then think about that little boy. Think about that little boy. His mama must have called in the morning, son, Jimmy, I don't know, don't refer, Bible doesn't say his name, Jimmy, okay, this prophet, Rabbi, Jesus is coming to this particular place. He's a really good teacher. You go and listen. Here is your lunch box. I have prepared something for you. You have it when you are hungry. So the little Jimmy goes to listen to Jesus. And this problem crop up. You know, there is no food. People are fainting. People are hungry. And people speak about it. He saw this halabalu, you know, people are running about and disciples were disturbed. And he remembered his lunchbox. Simply, he takes it, give it to Uncle Andrew. Then they were not saints, no. Then I said, Uncle, This is my mama give. Do whatever you want. Give it to Jesus. With pride, if Andrew will go and go. What is the use of this? If Andrew could have blackguarded him in that problem, you know. But then beauty of his character, he took it and gave it to Jesus. My dear friends, had he eaten by himself those fish and bread, he's dead and gone. There is no meaning at all. But he did not give the 10%. He gave everything he had to Jesus. And that's how he fed 5,000. He said, just give whatever you have to me. It's not you. You have to see everything through me. You have to go via me, through me. You by yourself is a nobody. With me, there is nothing impossible. I'm going to make you a blessing. I'm going to bless you because I will be there. I'm the life, I'm the way and the strength. So just give your everything to Jesus. My dear friends, the word says, they were satisfied. They were satisfied. Remember this word carefully. No one can satisfy you. No one can satisfy you. Sex cannot satisfy you. Food cannot satisfy you. Parties cannot satisfy you. Nothing can satisfy you. They can simply fill you. Simply fill you, not satisfy you. Only God can satisfy you. In your marriage life, if you give the first place to God, He will satisfy you. Even in your marital life, conjugal union, He will satisfy you. Even little things, little food that you have, little enjoyments. God has small things we call, you know, He can satisfy you. So without wasting your time, Isaiah 55, it is said, why you waste your money for what is not food? Why you waste your energy for what does not give you rest? So let's give ourselves to Jesus. Offer our everything to the Lord so that He will take it, He will break it, and He will give that. We find St. Paul's life finally where he gave himself to Jesus and he broke it, broke Saul became Paul with a fall. He broke him and gave him as a blessing. Today he writes a letter to Ephesians. He was in the prison. It's a captive letter. In the letter he says, make every effort to keep among you the unity of spirit through bonds of peace. Let there be one body, one spirit, just as one hope in the goal of your calling by God. One Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God, the Father of all, who is above all and works through all and is in all. The way He became a blessing. When you give your life to Jesus, it's an invitation to you without keeping anything, holding anything for yourself. Just throw yourself to Jesus' hand. Let Him take you. Let Him break you. That breaking would be a blessing. Let Him bless you and let Him give you so that you are going to be the fruits of Jesus, the life of Jesus. You are invited to live a Eucharistic life, my dear friends.